These are the top 10 board games on my wish list. Welcome back to After Evenfall, a channel all about inspiring you to embark on adventures from home. Today we are going to go over the top 10 games I have on my wish list and why I want those games. So board game number 10 on my list is Paleo. So I know I've mentioned it before on this channel, but I love archaeology and I love the study of anything historical. And Paleo is one of those games that kind of itches that scratch for me. It's one of those games that has kind of the cave person element to it. It also has some really phenomenal upgrade pieces that you can get off of Etsy, which is, and I am always an advocate for that. I love upgrading my board games. So Paleo is a co-op game set in prehistoric times where you are working to try to keep your people alive and send them out on missions and things like that to gain resources and take care of and ultimately to have your group of people succeed. The long-term goal is to be able to paint, I believe, like a mammoth on a cave wall, something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but you're trying to develop your society to the point where you can get to that phase. This game has at least 6 separate expansions that I could find. So I live in a pretty rural location, which means I don't have a game store nearby. Our closest one is like 2.5 hours away. But the last time that I went to one, I saw Paleo there and I almost bought it. I was so close and I just couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger. There was another game that I wanted more at the time, so it ended up staying on the shelf. But I'm hoping that it will be one that will join my collection soon and that I will be able to play it. We don't actually own a ton of co-op games. I have maybe 4 or 5 in my entire collection. We have a good sized collection. It's about 200 something games. In all of that, we don't have a lot of co-op is what I'm trying to say. And so I would really love to add that to our collection. But that is game number 10 on my list of games that I want, and that is Paleo. So board game number 9 on my list is one all of these I'm very, very excited for, but board game number 9 is one that I'm really excited for. I've heard a lot of people really enjoy the game so far, and it is right in my wheelhouse. So another interest I have has always been in DNA and genetics, and I think it's fascinating. You guys probably know the game that I'm already talking about, but the game that I really want to play and I have on my wish list is The Fox Experiment by Pandasaurus Games. So our family, we really like Pandasaurus games. We have Sonora over here. I've mentioned it before. That's one of our family's favorite games. We have Dinosaur World, which I have yet to play, but it looks very exciting. And I'm very much looking forward to The Fox Experiment. It looks phenomenal. So when I was growing up, I actually remembered learning about this study done in Russia where they were trying to domesticate foxes, and they were seeing how many generations it would take to do so and what elements would stay in the foxes and what wouldn't. Like over time, they started to lose the orange color and turn more white or gray or things like that. I remember learning about that in my medical anatomy and physiology class, interestingly enough. And I just fell in love with the whole idea of it. That's always been something that I've really enjoyed learning about. Genetics, I think they're fascinating, how you can bring one person, and have all of these different genetic traits that can come out of them. So in this game, you are selecting parents and you are rolling dice to determine what genetic traits the next group of foxes have. And then I believe after that, you move the pups over to a different section, and then you pick 2 parents out of them, and you do the same thing. And I believe the game passes through a number of rounds before completion. But this is a game that I've been really excited for, very interested in, and that is The Fox Experiment by Pandasaurus Games. So the next game I have on my list is a deduction-based game. It is called Veiled Fate by Force Studio, I believe. So in this game, you are a god trying to help your offspring to succeed. In the process, you're trying to knock off all the rest of your competitor's offspring, but at the same time, it's a social deduction game, so you don't know whose kid is whose. So you're trying to send your offspring off to go on quests to get feathers or scorpions or things like that throughout the game, and in the meantime, everyone else is doing the same, but you're trying really hard not to let everyone else know which one is your player until the very end when you kind of reveal, I guess, and then you end the game and someone wins or something along those lines. The cards in this game look phenomenal. Like, the art in it is so unique to this game. I haven't seen a lot of games with that style, and I'm really interested in it. It's kind of darker, heavier looking, but I personally love deduction games. The Search for Plan X up over here on my shoulder is one of my all-time favorite games. I said it before that I grew up playing Clue, and I love that game as well. It holds a very special place in my heart. Deduction games are probably some of my all-time favorite style of games. My mom used to have us do those little deduction exercises when we were growing up in books and things like that when we were on road trips, and so that's always something that I've really enjoyed. And then the idea of the gods and the goddesses and the demigods, and you have one and you have to keep it a secret. I don't know. That just seems so exciting to me and so fascinating. And I think it sounds like a really, really cool game to play with at least my family and a big group of people. Because I believe there are up to 9 demigods that you can have on the table at a time, or there aren't 9, period, one of the two. So I've been really interested in it, and I'm really hoping that we can get it eventually. And that is Veiled Fate by 4 Games. So one thing I have to say is, as much as I love board games, I actually don't win them very often, and I tend to not be a very good long-term planner. That being said, this next game is one that I've heard requires a lot of up-ahead planning, and so I'm very interested in trying to tailor that skill and hone it in myself. That game is Merchants of the Dark Road by Elf Creek Games. So I really love Honey Buzz is another game that they produce, and Honey Buzz is in my top 10 games. I've heard that Merchants of the Dark Road is really, really fun. You're essentially a merchant as you're selling. So you're buying items for a low price and then you're selling them for a high price. And the art in it is really immersive, and it's very like dark and heavy and broody, and it looks kind of like a game that you would play if you were in a medieval tavern or something. There's also an option for upgraded pieces. You can go to Elf Creek Games, their website, and you can purchase bigger or better pieces from them. That's something I always love. I love upgrading my board games, and so the idea of making my board games look nicer and things like that, I'm really excited for this game. I really hope that it's one that we can get eventually. That is board game number 7, Merchants of the Dark Road by not by Honey Buzz. That is board game number 7, Merchants of the Dark Road by Elf Creek Games. So board game number 6 is a game that I have had on my list for a long time. The new upgraded version of it looks fantastic. It looks very much more streamlined than the previous version had been, and that is Zoo Vadis. So in this game, you are animals in charge of running a zoo, and you are trying to play the politics and negotiate your way into the star exhibit. So this game has the ability to be played at a larger player count, which is something I've been looking forward to, because most of our games that we have in our collection are like 2-player games. And so when we do have people over, which isn't super often, but when we do have people over, it's hard to kind of want to play, everyone wants to play one game. You don't want to play 2 separate games off on either corner of the table. So I've heard that this can play at a higher player count, and that is something that I'm really looking forward to. The idea of politics and negotiation is fat. I love negotiation-based games. We used to play, this one's only semi-negotiation, but we used to play Pit, Corner the Market when we were really little. And that game got us so rowdy and so loud, and my mom used to always want to rip our hair out because it was so noisy, but it was so fun with all my siblings to be able to play that game, and I think that this one would be a really fun game to play with them as well. So I'm always an advocate for screen-printed meeples, and this game has them. The board looks really good. The idea of the whole game sounds hilarious to me in a fun way, not like an apples to apples way. I'm really hopeful as to whether we'll get this game or not. This is definitely one that I want to play, and that is Zoo Vadis. So number 5. This game was actually at the top of my list for a really long time, and it's kind of slowly gone down a little bit, but it still looks fantastic to me. I'm not all that interested in the theme itself. I'm not really big on building things, but the game is Kanban EV. So in this game, you are building electric vehicles, you are managing assembly lines, trying to develop new car parts, and manage supplies. The meeples in it look really cute. I love the little cars and stuff. So there are elements of resource and time management as you try to gain points to win. The color scheme looks great, the board looks great. So I'll be honest with you, the theme wasn't all that engaging to me initially, but I have just heard so many good things about this game over and over and over again that I've just watched as it slowly climbed my list and gotten higher and higher and higher. And the idea of the whole game seems really, really fun to me. I'm very excited to try to play it eventually, hopefully. I do like the amount of control that you have, where you are kind of doing your own. You are trying to develop car parts. You are trying to manage your resources. You are trying to run the assembly line. And you're also doing that at the same time that someone else is. I like that idea. I think that sounds really, really cool. So that is Kanban EV. So board game number 4 on my list is one that I've heard a lot of references to lately. I think it's been out for a little while, but it's one that I just hadn't heard about until more recently. I think it's because they have a new Kickstarter coming out with a dice version of the game. But this game is Moonrakers by 4 Studio, and this is the same company that produces Veiled Fate, so I have a lot of hopes for this game. So Moonrakers is a deck building and negotiation game. There's a lot of engagement with other players, which I think sounds really, really fun. I've also heard that it's fantastic at 2 players, and that's perfect for us because me and my husband are oftentimes the only ones that can play together. It's not very often that we have other people come over. The company really prides itself on making really nice components for the games, and I will say this art feels very true to the game, and the components look phenomenal. And for me, like, if you give me good components, like, I could not know anything about the game, but if you show me a picture and the components look fantastic, there's a solid chance that it's going to end up at my house. I think components are, like, my favorite parts. If they look cool, if they look engaging, I want the game every time. I can't say I know a lot about the game because it is newer to my list. I haven't had a lot of time to really get too excited about it, but the deluxe edition, like, they have... Whenever you can sell me on like those big box editions that have all the upgrades and all the extra components and stuff, I am just like all in on it. And they have a big box. It's a lot of money though, which is why I haven't purchased it yet, but it's a big box and that one looks so fun. I am so interested and I want to play it so badly. And that is Moonrakers by 4 Studios. Okay, so number 3 to my list is also a new one. I would probably own it already if I weren't having such a hard time trying to find it. I guess it's been sold out everywhere for a month or for the last few months, and I just haven't had a chance to get it yet, but it is up there, and I'm very excited for it, and that is 3 Ring Circus by Devere Games. So in 3 Ring Circus, you are a circus director trying to hire artists and host performances while you travel from town to town. The board looks very vintage. It looks fantastic. The colors on it, I love the player colors. I just think... I don't know why, but that style of board just really calls to me. The little big top circus tents that you can put on are just so cute. And the art is so quirky and fun. I love the faded vintage vibes that you get from it. It is a Euro style game, so there's not so much of that direct combat in the game. It's more kind of you're doing your own thing. I believe you were trying to get more fame toward endgame scoring. I'm not super into circuses. That's never been my thing, but this game looks so good and it looks so streamlined. It looks like the gameplay itself perfectly meshes with the theme, and that's something I always look forward to. So that is 3 Ring Circus by Devere Games. So number 2 on my list, I believe this one is not totally in production yet. I think that it's somewhere between the Kickstarter and the release, and I did not back it, so I haven't been able to get my hands on it at all. And that is ryozen. Now, ryozen is a worker placement game that features a rotating board and a really cool palace in the center, a 3D palace thing, and the components look really cool. It comes with like one big miniature. There are a ton of components in this game, and the components are all very colorful. They all look very vibrant and nice. There are tiles that you can lay out, and the cards just look really, really good. I'm really excited for the card. I mean, the cards just look, they're so vibrant and they're so nice looking. I don't thus far own a game with like a rondelle in the center, so that's kind of something that I'm a little intrigued by. I really want to try this game. Hopefully it'll come, once it's out in production, then I'm hoping it'll come to retail. Sometimes with Kickstarters they don't. Sometimes they'll just give them all to their Kickstarter backers and then you never see it actually come to retail. This is one that I'm really hoping, crossing my fingers, that it does, so that I can get my hands on it at a decent price, not at a scalper's price. But that is ryozen, and I believe it's by Tabula Games. So number 1 on my wish list is a game that I have been trying to get my hands on for forever, and it's a beautiful looking game, and I want it so badly, and it has so many expansions with it, and I just want, every time I see it, I'm like, I just want them all. But that is Aqua Garden. Oh my goodness, this game is just fantastic. It has all of these phenomenal fish meeples. There are all of these upgrades you can get, all of these expansions that add like clownfish and sea anemones and octopus and octopi and dolphins and whales, and it looks so cool. In Aqua Garden, you're trying to stock fish tanks, and by placing certain creatures in. However, you can't use too much oxygen. There are some restrictions involved, and all the pieces, the components just look so good. They're so selling me on it. And the cover, I love the cover. And I just think the whole game just totally looks like something I would love. So I used to play a lot of Animal Crossing when I was younger, and then I've played the new game that came out, but just a little bit. But one of my favorite parts of the Animal Crossing game was fishing. I love trying to get all the different kind of fish and trying to put them in my museum, and so that I could go and I could see them all on the wall. And this game totally reminds me of that, where you have your tanks, you're adding your fish in, you're trying to make it all work out perfectly, and I just love the idea. I want this game so bad. I want all of the expansions, I want everything, but this game is so incredibly difficult for me to find, at least with like the expansions and stuff. Like one expansion on eBay is like $50, and I can't find, I just want the game, and I want all the expansions. Someone sell them to me. If anyone knows how I could get a hold of everything and have it all be in mint condition, you let me know, because this is one that I've been looking for a while. Anyway, so that is Aqua Garden. All right, everyone, so those are the top 10 games in my wish list. If you want to see more of my wish list, let me know, but those are the top 10 games, because my wish list is extensive, but those are the top 10 games. I'm hopeful that I can get them soon enough, and then I can play them and give you guys a review, and I think that would be super fun. If you really liked what you saw today, please click right here to see our latest video, and don't forget to click here to go to our channel. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell to get notifications when we upload new content. Thank you so much for joining us here after Evenfall, and I hope to see you guys again soon.